History happens twice, first as a prototype, then as perfection. While all eyes have been fixed on Pad A, something remarkable just happened at Pad B. The new Mechazilla system, those massive mechanical arms designed to catch returning starships, just completed its first movement test with flawless precision. The smoothness of this operation reveals something SpaceX engineers have been quietly perfecting behind the scenes. Meanwhile, across Starbase, Flight 8 preparations intensify as simulated satellites arrive at the staging area. But that's not all. Firefly Aerospace just secured a critical $21.8 million contract with the U.S. Space Force, cementing their position as a serious player in national security launches. And halfway around the world, China has officially named their lunar exploration systems, Wangu and Tonsa, marking another bold step in their mission to reach the moon. The space race is accelerating on multiple fronts, and today we're bringing you exclusive coverage of developments that will shape humanity's future among the stars. I'm with Elon Musk 24 hours. Let's dive right in. While the world has been captivated by the dramatic tests and launches at Pad A, something extraordinary has been unfolding in the shadows of its sister site. For months, Pad B has been evolving, not with the thunderous roar of rocket engines, but with the methodical precision that defines SpaceX's approach to innovation. Since January 27th, when the chopstick system was first mounted on Pad B's launch tower, engineers have been meticulously assembling what might be the most sophisticated rocket recovery system ever built. This isn't just construction, it's sculpture on an industrial scale, each component carefully positioned to perform a ballet of physics that will eventually pluck returning spacecraft from the sky. The timeline tells a story of relentless progress. On February 12th, the actuator system, the muscles of Mechazilla, was installed. 5 days later, on February 17th, the ramp systems followed, creating the pathways for movement within this mechanical giant. That same day, the cladding system arrived at Pad B, ready to protect the delicate internal mechanisms from the harsh coastal environment and the even harsher conditions of rocket landings. But technical specifications only tell half the story. The true milestone came when those massive arms first moved. As the sun set over Boca Chica on February 17th, something unprecedented occurred. The tethers that had secured the chopsticks in place since their installation were removed, a sign of confidence from engineers that the system was ready for its first test. Then, with deliberate grace, the left arm of Mechazilla-2 began to move. This wasn't a dramatic gesture. There was no need for spectacle. Instead, the movement was slow, controlled, and most importantly, smooth. To the untrained eye, it might have seemed unremarkable, but to those who understand the complexity of these systems, it was nothing short of extraordinary. The joints flexed with fluid precision, demonstrating that the theoretical designs had successfully translated into physical reality. Those who have followed SpaceX's development know that Elon Musk revealed crucial details about this new system during his interview with Everyday Astronaut. The redesigned arms are shorter, less bulky, and potentially more efficient than their predecessors at Pad A. What we witnessed wasn't just movement, it was evolution in action, the next generation of recovery technology taking its first steps. The implications extend far beyond this single test. This new system appears more agile, more responsive, and potentially more capable of handling the delicate dance required to catch a returning Starship, a spacecraft weighing hundreds of tons, arriving from orbital velocity. This successful first movement marks the beginning of a comprehensive testing program that will push the limits of what mechanical systems can achieve. In the coming weeks, we can expect to see the remaining arm tested, followed by a series of increasingly complex maneuvers, lifting, lowering, closing, opening, and rotating, each one bringing us closer to operational readiness. Perhaps the most critical tests will involve weight and pressure simulations. Engineers will likely deploy massive orange water bags, a SpaceX testing trademark, to recreate the forces that the chopsticks will experience during actual Starship catches. These tests may also incorporate Test Tank 16, allowing for real-world simulations under controlled conditions. As testing progresses, additional components will be integrated into the system. The landing pins, crucial for securing Starships during the final moments of recovery, will be installed with millimeter precision. There's also speculation that the arms may be extended slightly to ensure optimal reach for different Starship variants, showcasing the adaptability built into this system. This isn't just about building infrastructure. It's about creating a system that can reliably catch spacecraft returning from orbit, something never before accomplished in the history of spaceflight. The vision for Pad B extends far beyond the chopstick system. Below the towering launch structure, equally important work continues on fundamental components that will support future launches and landings. The flame trench, designed to channel the immense energy of Super Heavy's 33 Raptor engines away from the launch mount, is under development at the Sanchez site. Alongside it, the orbital launch mount itself is taking shape, designed to withstand forces that would obliterate conventional structures. These aren't just construction projects. They're engineering challenges that push the boundaries of material science and structural design. Each component must function flawlessly under conditions that would destroy lesser systems, handling temperatures ranging from cryogenic extremes to the heat of rocket exhausts. Perhaps the most significant development for Pad B's future operations is the planned expansion of fuel storage capabilities. Unlike Pad A, which has its dedicated tank farm, Pad B currently lacks independent fuel storage, a limitation that must be addressed before the site can reach full operational capacity. The scale of SpaceX's ambitions becomes clear when we examine the fuel requirements for future Starship missions. As the company prepares to deploy larger, more capable variants like the V2 and V3 iterations, fuel demands will increase significantly. A separate tank farm for Pad B isn't just desirable, it's essential. Progress on this front became visible on February 16th, when cameras captured 6 massive fuel tanks being transported from NASA's Kennedy Space Center facilities. By the following day, that number had increased to 7, with 5 already loaded onto barges for the journey to Starbase next month. The horizontal configuration of these tanks reveals their purpose. They're designed specifically for storing liquid methane and liquid oxygen, the propellant combination that powers Starship's Raptor engines. With each tank capable of holding thousands of gallons of cryogenic fuels, this expansion represents a significant increase in Starbase's operational capacity. This tank farm expansion isn't just about increasing storage volume, it's about creating redundancy in critical systems, ensuring that operations can continue even if issues arise with the primary facility. It's the kind of forward thinking that has allowed SpaceX to maintain its breakneck pace of development while other aerospace companies move at a more traditional pace. With Pad B's development accelerating, the question on everyone's mind is, when will we see the first Starship caught by Mechazilla? While specific timelines remain fluid, the patterns of development suggest an ambitious schedule. Flight 8, expected to launch in early to mid-March, will focus on refining Super Heavy landings using the existing infrastructure at Pad A. If successful, Flights 9 and 10 could follow in April and May, aligning perfectly with Pad B's construction and testing timeline. While Flight 9 remains an uncertain candidate for the first chopstick catch attempt, Flight 10 is shaping up to be the mission where history might be made. Ship 36, currently under development, will incorporate major upgrades specifically designed to facilitate chopstick recovery. The poetry of this potential timeline isn't lost on those following the program closely. What better debut for Pad B's Mechazilla system than to catch its first returning Starship? It would be a demonstration not just of technical capability, but of SpaceX's holistic approach to spacecraft development. Before we witness that historic moment, several critical milestones must be achieved. SpaceX must demonstrate consistent Super Heavy landings, showing that the booster can reliably return to its launch site with precision. Simultaneously, controlled Starship touchdowns must be perfected. The ship must be able to reach its designated landing zone with enough stability for the chopsticks to safely secure it. These are the challenges that Flights 8 and 9 must address before the full reusability dream can be realized. The significance of this achievement cannot be overstated. When successful, it will mark the beginning of a new era in spaceflight, one where orbital-class vehicles return not to splash down in oceans or perform powered landings that consume precious fuel, but are gently caught and placed back on their launch mounts, ready for rapid turnaround and reuse. This isn't just about cost savings or efficiency. It's about fundamentally changing our relationship with space, making access to orbit as routine as commercial air travel. As pad construction continues, Preparations for Flight 8 are already well underway. The simulated satellites that will serve as its payload have been revealed at the Star Factory facility. Visually similar to those used in Flight 7, these test articles will soon be transported to Mechazilla-2 for integration with Ship 34. S-34 itself has recently completed an unprecedented static fire test, a crucial verification of its propulsion system's performance and reliability. Now undergoing meticulous inspections in Mechazilla-2, this prototype represents the culmination of lessons learned from previous flights. In the coming days, engineers will equip S-34 with its flight termination system, PEZ dispenser, mechanism for payload deployment, and the simulated satellite payloads. Once these integrations are complete, the vehicle will roll out to the launch pad for mating with Booster 15, forming the complete Starship stack for Flight 8. This mission carries significant objectives beyond just another launch and landing attempt. For the first time, SpaceX will attempt to deploy a simulated payload from Starship, a capability not demonstrated during Flight 7. This mission element is crucial for future commercial and government missions that will rely on Starship's ability to deliver satellites to precise orbits. Additionally, the mission will test Starship's ability to restart its Raptor engines in space, an absolute requirement for deep space missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Without this capability, Starship would be limited to Earth orbit, unable to perform the trajectory adjustments needed for interplanetary missions. Flight 8 also represents an opportunity to validate improvements to Starship's thermal protection system and control surfaces. The re-entry phase of Flight 7 revealed areas for improvement in the heat shield design and flap mechanisms, issues that engineers have spent months addressing. By monitoring the performance of these upgraded systems during Flight 8's re-entry, SpaceX will gather crucial data to further refine the vehicle's design. Each flight builds upon the lessons of previous missions, creating an upward spiral of capability and reliability that will eventually culminate in a fully reusable system. While Ship 34 will conclude its journey with an ocean landing rather than a return to Starbase, its mission will pave the way for future vehicles to attempt land recoveries. The data collected during its flight will inform the development of Ship 36 and subsequent vehicles designed specifically for chopstick recovery at Pad B. This methodical approach, testing one capability at a time, building upon proven successes, has been a hallmark of SpaceX's development philosophy. It's a strategy that balances ambition with pragmatism, pushing boundaries while maintaining a foundation of verified performance. While SpaceX continues to dominate headlines, another American rocket company is making significant strides in the competitive launch market. Firefly Aerospace recently secured a $21.8 million contract from the U.S. Space Force to launch orbital missions under the military's Tactically Responsive Space program. The contract, announced by Space Systems Command on February 13, covers a mission designated Victus Sol. This mission will launch aboard Firefly's Alpha rocket, though details regarding the specific payload, objectives, and timeline remain classified, highlighting the national security implications of this partnership. What makes this achievement particularly notable is that it represents Firefly's third contract with the U.S. Space Force, establishing the company as an increasingly important player in government and military space operations. The competitive nature of the bidding process under the Space Force's Orbital Services Program underscores the credibility Firefly has built in a remarkably short time. Firefly CEO Jason Kim emphasized the strategic importance of this mission, noting that it will provide the operational capability to have a launch vehicle and space vehicle on standby, a critical asset for rapid response to emerging threats or opportunities in the space domain. This newest contract builds upon Firefly's previous successes with the Space Force. The company successfully launched the Victus Nox mission in September 2023 and is currently preparing for the Victus Hay mission later this year. The latter will carry a satellite developed by space technology firm True Anomaly, further expanding Firefly's collaborative network within the aerospace industry. Beyond its launch services, Firefly has gained recognition for its Blue Ghost lunar lander program, demonstrating the company's ambitions beyond Earth orbit. By diversifying its capabilities across military, government, and lunar exploration sectors, Firefly is positioning itself as a comprehensive space services provider rather than just a launch company. This strategic diversification creates a more resilient business model, allowing Firefly to weather market fluctuations in any single sector. As commercial space competition intensifies, this approach may prove crucial for smaller companies hoping to survive in a landscape dominated by giants like SpaceX. Firefly's growth trajectory suggests it could emerge as a significant competitor in the commercial space sector, particularly for small to medium-sized payloads that don't require Starship's massive capacity. This market segmentation creates room for multiple successful companies, each serving different payload classes and mission profiles. As American companies push the boundaries of rocket reusability and commercial space services, China is making equally significant moves in its quest to reach the moon. Recent announcements from the China Manned Space Agency, CMSA, reveal the country's serious commitment to establishing a human presence on the lunar surface. On February 12th, CMSA officially named key components of its crewed lunar mission architecture. The lunar spacesuit, first revealed last year, will be called Wangu, a name that translates to gazing into the cosmos. This designation echoes the meaning of Phaeton, or flying into space, used for China's space station missions, creating a poetic continuity in the country's space exploration naming conventions. Meanwhile, the rover designed to support astronauts during lunar surface operations has been designated Tonsa, meaning to explore. This unpressurized vehicle will transport 2 astronauts across the lunar terrain, enabling extended exploration beyond the immediate landing zone. The selection of these names followed a period of public input between September and October 2023, reflecting China's efforts to build popular support and engagement with its space program. This approach mirrors NASA's long-standing tradition of public involvement, though adapted to China's specific cultural and political context. Beyond naming exercises, CMSA confirmed that both the Wangu lunar suit and the Tonsa rover have entered the prototype development stage, with all work proceeding according to schedule. This announcement suggests that China has moved beyond conceptual design into physical manufacturing and testing, a significant milestone in any spacecraft development program. China is also considering names for its crewed spacecraft and lunar lander, with Mengzhou, Dream Vessel, and Lanyu, embracing the moon, emerging as leading candidates. These poetic designations reflect China's cultural approach to space exploration, emphasizing harmony and aspiration rather than conquest or dominance. The progress on these systems highlights China's methodical approach to space development. Rather than pursuing the rapid iteration model favored by SpaceX, China's space program advances through carefully planned stages, each building upon verified successes. This conservative approach may take longer, but it minimizes public failures and maintains political support for long-term projects. China's advancing lunar program creates an interesting dynamic in international space exploration. While not explicitly framed as competition, the parallel development of American and Chinese lunar architectures inevitably invites comparison and creates incentives for accelerated development on both sides. For NASA and its commercial partners, including SpaceX, China's progress serves as both validation of the moon's strategic importance and motivation to maintain America's historical leadership in lunar exploration. The Artemis program, despite recent delays, remains the most ambitious and comprehensive plan for establishing a sustainable human presence on the moon. SpaceX's Starship, selected as the human landing system for Artemis missions, represents a crucial American advantage in this implicit competition. The vehicle's massive payload capacity, reusability, and in-space refueling capabilities provide technical capabilities that currently exceed anything in China's lunar architecture. However, China's steady progress and long-term planning should not be underestimated. The country has demonstrated remarkable discipline in pursuing its space objectives, consistently meeting announced milestones despite occasional schedule adjustments. This methodical approach, backed by substantial and consistent funding, creates momentum that could eventually challenge American leadership if current advantages aren't maintained. As we track the technical developments at Starbase, Firefly's growing launch business, and China's lunar ambitions, it's worth stepping back to consider the broader significance of these parallel developments. We're witnessing not just the evolution of rockets and spacecraft, but the formation of a new economic and political frontier. SpaceX's pursuit of fully reusable heavy lift capability through Starship and the Mechazilla recovery system aims to dramatically reduce the cost of access to space. If successful, this technology will enable economic activities in Earth orbit and beyond that have been financially impossible until now. From space-based solar power to asteroid mining and large-scale manufacturing in microgravity. That capability, more than any other development in modern spaceflight, has the potential to transform our relationship with space from occasional, expensive visits to sustained, economical presence. It's the difference between the early days of ocean exploration, when ships might make 1 or 2 voyages in their lifetime, and the modern maritime industry, where vessels operate continuously for decades. As Pad B continues its development, each new component installed and each successful test completed brings us closer to this transformative capability. The actuators, ramps, and cladding being installed today will soon support operations that redefine what's possible in space transportation. The tanks being shipped from Kennedy Space Center will store the propellants that fuel not just launches, but an entirely new economy spanning Earth and space. The flame trenches and launch mounts under construction will support thousands of missions over their operational lifetimes, becoming as crucial to human civilization as seaports and airports. This infrastructure, built methodically and tested rigorously, forms the foundation upon which humanity's spacefaring future will rest. While headlines often focus on dramatic launches and landings, it's these seemingly mundane systems, the fuel farms, the recovery mechanisms, the ground support equipment, that truly enable sustained operations beyond Earth. When the first Starship is caught by Mechazilla-2 at Pad B, remember that you witnessed not just an engineering achievement, but the opening of a gateway to humanity's multiplanetary future. That moment, built upon thousands of smaller milestones and countless hours of engineering work, will mark the point where science fiction begins its transformation into everyday reality. As we track these developments across 3 continents, one thing becomes crystal clear. We're witnessing history unfold in real time. The silent dance of Mechazilla-2's first movement represents more than engineering progress. It's the cornerstone of a future where spacecraft return home like airplanes rather than burning up or splashing down. When that first Starship is caught by the mechanical arms at Pad B, possibly as soon as Flight 10, it will mark a pivot point in our species' relationship with space. This isn't just SpaceX's achievement, it's humanity's next giant leap. If you're as excited about this future as we are, drop a wow in the comments below. What mission do you think will feature the first successful chopstick catch? The community here at Elon Musk 24 Hours has some of the sharpest minds tracking these developments. Hit that like button if you found value in today's breakdown, and subscribe to stay ahead of these rapidly unfolding developments. With launches potentially every month through spring, you won't want to miss a single update. This is Elon Musk 24 Hours bringing you tomorrow's space revolution today. Until next time, keep looking up. The future is already arriving.